Chapter 27. The camp looked empty and dead. Only a few well-dressed inmates were walking through the blocks. Of course, we first had to pass through the showers. The head of the camp joined us there. He was a large man with big shoulders, the neck of a bull, thick lips, and curly hair. He seemed kind. From time to time a smile would begin in his gray-blue eyes. Our group included a few 10- and 12-year-olds. The officer took an interest in them and gave orders to bring them food. We were given new clothing and settled in 2 tents. We were told to wait there until we could join the other prisoners who were working. All the inmates agreed. Buna is a very good camp. One can survive here. The most important thing is not to be assigned to the construction workers. But we didn't have a choice. Our tent leader was a German. A killer's face, big lips, hands like a wolf's paws. He seemed to really like the camp's food. He could hardly move, he was so fat. Like the leader of the camp, he liked children. Immediately after our arrival, he had bread brought for them, some soup and butter. He told us, "You will stay with me for 3 days. Afterward, you will go to work. Tomorrow, doctor's checkup." One of his assistants, a strong-looking boy with anxious eyes, came over to me. "Would you like to get into a good group?" "Of course, but I want to stay with my father." "All right," he said, "I can make it happen, but you have to give me your shoes. I'll give you other shoes." I refused to give him my shoes. They were all I had left. "I'll also give you my bread with some butter for 1 day." He liked my shoes, but I would not let him have them. Later, they were taken from me anyway, in exchange for nothing that time. The medical checkup took place outside early in the morning before 3 doctors sitting on a bench. The first didn't really examine me. He just asked, "Are you in good health?" Who would have said the opposite? They would have been killed. On the other hand, the dentist seemed more careful. He asked me to open my mouth. In fact, he was not looking for problems with my teeth, but he was looking for gold. I did have 1 gold tooth. The first 3 days went by quickly. On the 4th day, we stood in front of our tent. The Nazis appeared. Each one began to choose the men he liked. You. They pointed their fingers the way one might choose animals or objects to buy. We followed our Nazi, a young man. He made us stop at the door of the first block, near the entrance to the camp. This was the musicians' block. He told us to come inside. We were surprised. What had we to do with music? The orchestra was playing a military song, always the same. Nazis were marching to the music. Left, right, left, right. Nazis, pen in hand, recorded the number of men leaving. The orchestra continued to play the same march until the last Nazi soldier had passed. Then the conductors' club stopped moving and the orchestra fell silent. One of them yelled, "Get in your groups!" We gathered into groups of 5 with the musicians. We left the camp without music, but marching together. We still had the march in our ears. Left, right, left, right. We struck up conversations with our neighbors, the musicians. Almost all of them were Jews. Juliek, a Polish man with glasses and a sad smile. Louis, a native of Holland, a well-known violinist and musician. He complained that they would not let him play Beethoven. Jews were not allowed to play German music. Hans, the young man from Berlin, was very funny. Juliek explained to me, "We work in a factory of electrical materials, not far from here. The work is not difficult nor dangerous. Only one Nazi occasionally gets angry." "You are a lucky young man," said Hans, smiling. "You were put into a good group." Our friends were right. The work was not difficult. Sitting on the ground, we counted various electrical small parts. Franek, the leader, assigned me to a corner. "Don't worry, go slowly, but watch out. Don't let a Nazi catch you." "Please, sir, I'd like to be near my father." "All right, your father will work here, next to you." We were lucky. 2 boys came to join our group. Yossi and Tivi, 2 brothers from Czechoslovakia whose parents had been killed in Birkenau. They lived for each other, body and soul. They quickly became my friends. They knew many Jewish songs, and so we would sometimes sing. We also spoke often about Palestine. Their parents, like mine, had not been brave enough to sell everything and move to Palestine while there was still time. We decided if we were allowed to live until we were free, we would not stay another day in Europe. We would get on the first boat to Palestine. Chapter 28. We left the tents for the musicians' block. We now were given a blanket, a bowl, and a bar of soap. The block leader was a German Jew. It was good to have a Jew as your leader. His name was Alphonse, a young man with a very intelligent face. He was totally devoted to defending his block. Whenever he could, he would organize a bowl of soup for the young, for the weak, for all those who dreamed more of extra food than of freedom. One day, when we had just returned from the warehouse, I was called by the block secretary. A7713? That's me. After your meal, you'll go to the dentist. But I don't have a tooth problem. After your meal, you will go. I went to the infirmary block. Some 20 prisoners were waiting in line at the entrance. It didn't take long to learn the reason. Our gold teeth were to be taken out. The dentist, a Jew from Czechoslovakia, had a face that looked like a death mask. When he opened his mouth, you could see his yellow, rotten teeth. Seated in the chair, I asked, afraid, "What are you going to do, sir?" "I shall remove your gold tooth, that's all," he said callously. I thought of pretending to be sick. "Couldn't you wait a few days, sir? I don't feel well. I'm sick." He thought for a moment and felt my heartbeat. "All right, son. Come back to see me when you feel better. But don't wait for me to call you." I went back to see him a week later. With the same excuse, I still was not feeling better. He did not seem surprised, and I don't know if he believed me. But he most likely was pleased that I had come back on my own, as I had promised. He gave me another delay. A few days after my visit, the dentist's office was shut down. He had been thrown into prison and was about to be killed. The Nazis found out that he had been selling prisoners' gold teeth for his own benefit. I felt no pity for him. In fact, I was pleased with what was happening to him. My gold crown was safe. It could be useful to me one day, to buy something, some bread, or even time to live. At that moment in time, all that mattered to me was my daily bowl of soup, my old hard bread. The bread, the soup, those were my entire life. I was nothing but a body. Chapter 29. In the factory, I often worked next to a young French woman. We did not speak. She did not know German, and I did not understand French. I thought she looked Jewish, maybe. One day, when Edith was very angry, I happened to cross his path. He threw himself on me like a wild beast, hitting me in the chest, on my head, throwing me to the ground and picking me up again, crushing me with violence until I was covered in blood. As I bit my lips in order not to scream with pain, he had no reason to hit me, but he still continued to hit me harder and harder. Suddenly, he calmed down and sent me back to work as if nothing has happened, and we were taken part in a game. I dragged myself to my corner. My body was hurting very badly. I felt a cool hand wiping the blood from my forehead. It was the French girl. She was smiling her sad smile as she gave me a piece of bread. She looked straight into my eyes. I knew she wanted to talk to me, but that she was scared. She looked like that for some time, and then she smiled and she said, in almost perfect German, "Bite your lips, little brother, don't cry. Keep your anger, your hate for another day, for later. The day will come, but not now. Wait." Many years later in Paris, I sat in the train reading a newspaper. Across the train, a beautiful woman with dark hair and dreamy eyes. I had seen those eyes before. "Madame, don't you recognize me?" "I don't know you, sir." "In 1944, you were in Poland, in Buna, weren't you?" "Yes, but you worked in a factory for electrical parts." "Yes," she said, looking sad. And then, after a moment of silence, "Wait, I do remember. The young Jewish boy, your sweet words." We left the metro together and sat down at a cafe. We spent the whole evening talking. Before leaving, I said, "May I ask one more question?" "I know what it is. Am I Jewish?" "Yes, I am, from a religious family. During the Holocaust, I had false papers and passed as non-Jewish, and that was how I survived. When they deported me to Germany, I escaped being sent to a concentration camp. At the factory, no one knew that I spoke German. It would have caused problems for me. It was dangerous to say those few words to you, but I knew that you would not say anything to hurt me.